Welcome to SportsGrid. It's been a heck of a week here at the network. Here is some of what you may have missed.
But now tonight, they're home. And, Lynch is going for the Royals, but they're working him back. So he's going to be an opener in this situation here. But Eric Lauer, who I just looking for ways to bet against, except for the Dodgers never lose his starts, it feels like. But the Kansas City is not rolled over in this series at all. They have had opportunities to win some games here. I think they're going to be a little feisty in this one as well, Tom.
I think it's reasonable to look to back the Royals, especially because we're getting such a good price. And we've talked about not buying into the Dodgers, who have been pretty mediocre in the last, call it 2 weeks. When we're dealing with a $2 favorite, which is just, for a sport in baseball, to back Eric Lauer as a $2 favorite. Don't bet that. You can bet on the Royals. It's Royals or pass. And if you want to take the Royals in the first 5 to keep it close, something along those lines, I think that's fine. But I can't get myself to bet on the Dodgers at a minus 210 price when Eric Lauer's on the mound.
I agree. Listen, the Dodgers were 9-0 in his starts, Tom, until that last one, which was against the Cubs, and the Cubs crushed them
last week
for 6 runs, right, and 11 hits. But prior to that, 9-0. But that's when the Dodgers were actually hitting and doing the right thing. So I'm with you. Now listen, Blake Snell threw 6 innings and I think struck out everyone as a lefty there. Kansas City, not exactly, murderer's row that they've got rolling on there. But, I'm with you. I think early on, because I don't want anything to do with that bullpen. But the Dodgers bullpen's been pretty worked here too, no?
It has. So, was this first 5 for the Royals? What are you looking? You get the Royals at plus, half a run at plus 104 in the first 5. 1.5 is probably too much. 1.5 is juiced at minus 178. So if you think the Royals keep it close, you get a plus money price through the first 5, and you don't have to worry about their atrocious bullpen.
I'm with you. I think I took him last night. I took that half a run in the first 5 with Walk on the mound, and I think it was nothing. Him and Blake Snell had a battle. They didn't end up scoring until later in that game when the bullpens came in. Shocker. I think we could be in for pretty much the same here in this one. Just don't trust Lauer at all.
The NBA told us what we're going to be doing for the tip-off of the NBA season. The Boston Celtics are tipping off against the Pistons on NBC at 3 p.m. Is Tuesday, October 20th, a holiday that I didn't know about? Do they think people don't work in Detroit? Hey, by the way, look, if that's a holiday, tell me if I'm missing that, but I've been trying to figure out, is that a holiday? Is October 20th an actual holiday? Why are we playing basketball at 3 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, October the 20th? The Sixers go to the Knicks. LeBron James gets prime time against the New York Knicks. It is ring ceremony night. It is banner night. It is a monster audience. And then we get the Thunder and the Spurs. A rematch of the Western Conference Finals will happen. That's a hell of a triple header. That's to tip off the NBA. That's awesome. That's just tremendous. I don't get why we're playing a 3 o'clock start time. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't get that. Why are we doing that? But okay, there's your tip off. Your first 3 games of the year. The Celtics out of the gate.
With runners on the corner, 1 out. It's interesting, Gabe, right? You play for the double play, right? If you give up the run, it's not the worst thing in the world because you're going to come right back up. You're going to have a man on second. We get the double play, the game's over. It is what it is. That's what I'm thinking here, at least, for Milwaukee and San Diego. What are you taking a look at? I feel like you're eyeing something up over there.
First
for
and
your
third.
Vlad Jr. home run bet?
Nah, no, I didn't get in, so I was almost hoping he didn't hit it. But I got the live video feed going on here. There's only 1 out in first and third right now. Beautiful sunny day in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of drama left, but
I don't like the Centinela is like one of the old Rockies trash cans. That doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
That's what I'm saying, though. We go to like the Ghost Runner. We're still in the damn 11th inning right now. Like, you know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Like, it's still not easy for them.
No,
that's
so
my only beef with the Ghost Runner that I find comical. It's like, you guys did this because you thought you'd get home and to the hotel quicker. Mm-hmm. Instead, it hasn't worked out that way. You still end up playing for. This game's been going on forever, Kevin. Like, it's been going on like extra innings since we started. It's almost like 45 minutes of this.
I much prefer that being the, I'll call it baseball purist complaint. Instead of saying the Ghost Runner stinks, it's ruining baseball, I think, look how bad these guys are. They can't even end the game. Like, that's
look
what
at this.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Oh, great catch. Great catch.
Yeah, I thought the game was over, bro. I thought the game was over, Kevin. The crowd did too. I got a sound out, but everybody in the crowd stood up. Everyone, like the Padre players, were all like, Buddy smoked it. It looked like a home run at first. I was like, no, it's not a home run. Then it was like the right fielder has no idea where the ball is. It's sunny out. This is not going to end well. Look at this catch. That's like Savannah banana crap. Like, Kevin, he was literally sideways, like, and jumped up, put his glove up.
That's incredible.
Like,
that is
if
incredible.
Milwaukee win this game still, but it just flipped. Milwaukee just went from minus 210 to plus 100, just like that.
All right, move some things around here a little bit.
Yeah. So the plus monies just go back and forth. It's fascinating to watch how it changes. But like, that was a crazy catch in right field.
That kid Lahr is, he's going to be around for a while.
In the blazing sun, too. Not easy. Because it's hard. Like, you could tell the shadows in the sun, Kevin. These day games in California are not easy. You can see, too, part of the field is shadows. The rest, like home plate. Oh, my God. Pass ball. Ball. Catcher drops the ball. Goes to the backstop.
And he gets to get... Oh, he doesn't... He's not...
Runner goes from first to second now. Yeah, now he's in scoring position.
Yeah, but Gabe, he stole... and he slid head first into second. If he had his eyes
did he steal? I didn't even notice he stole then, too. Yeah.
Yeah. He might have got himself one.
I just saw the ball go through.
Yeah.
Right now, he's probably hurt. You know how hard that dirt is, too? It's not fun, these guys sliding. It's really one thing I've never understood, that they can't make it sand, so it's like there's, you know what I mean? But it's like clay. I made a big mistake. I played in a media game against the Expos. The Expos alumni, one of those type of things.
This is already a great story. This is
that's
one of those 5 words in. It's a great story.
That was fun. Yeah, and get this too, Kevin. Like, a lot of people in the media had big mouths, and the players didn't like them and stuff. There were a couple of guys, the players liked me and stuff, so they're grooving me pitches. I smoked one the center field, but it was aluminum bat. Like, I murdered the ball. But I made a big mistake of sliding in the home plate, and I didn't have to do it. I did it just to be a jackass at a big league stadium. Like, I came flying in. Ripped my pants, my knees shredded to crap. It was all like, it's like hard clay.
Oh my gosh.
It was... That's why you'll see guys in real games, like, you'll wonder, why are they going out in the middle of a game? Oh, what just happened? You just lost. Did they score? Yeah, there we go.
Gabe, could you see this? I don't understand.
I looked up. No, what happened?
It was a base hit to the kid who made an incredible catch, Lara. He threw it on a rope, but I don't know if it was like too high. Like, the catcher wasn't in position to place the tag. Also, what was Centinela doing out there? Why was that? Why?
San Diego. I knew San Diego was going to win. They're going to find a way, this team right now. Like, they're just hot.
Good stuff just getting started. We will be right back after this.
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great. Sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan have to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the it's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
It's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to SportsGrid. It's been an unbelievable week here at the network. Here is some of the fantastic content you may have missed this week.
On these afternoon games here, still going on. Actually, a couple of good ones. Houston actually scored a run, Tom. That's hard to believe. 1-1 here in the top of the seventh. They're playing, of course, the Giants. You've got really good pitchers battle between the Padres and the Brewers going on right now. It does look like Tampa's about to close out. The Athletics are in the top of the ninth, 8-4 in that one. I do believe this will be a 9-0 West Coast trip. If they win this one, they'll head home Friday. They'll start a home series then. But yeah, I don't think anybody's done a better job of beating sub 500 teams than the Tampa Bay Rays this year, Tom. And I guess that is really got to be the question. Do you believe that, yes, Tampa's won the games they're supposed to win, but are we buying that that's good enough to win the games they're not supposed to win at times here?
That's a big question. You know, the Rays overperforming and beating preseason expectations by so much. They're unbelievable at home, as we just saw. They are constantly getting good pitching performances. They are putting up runs when they need to. They can win low-scoring games. They have a great back end of the bullpen with Brian Baker. Like, they kind of check off all the boxes that you possibly want. The question becomes is when they have to go on the road in a postseason series, how much can we trust them? You know, what if the hitting dies down a little bit? What if they lose a game at home? Because they're great at home. They're obviously not perfect at home. But if they were to host a series and they lose one of those games, does that set them up to fail? So that's really the question about the Rays, because if they are truly the class of the AL, they're going to have home field advantage throughout, and you're getting them at the Yankees are the favorite right now. And that's just, again, a risk thing for the books. But you get the Rays at a great price to win the AL, knowing that they've home field the entire time.
Yeah, and it's, I think, remains to be seen, right, Tom? I mean, on paper it looks, but it really does feel like it remains to be seen here. And I got to play the believe it when I see it card. There's no reason for them not to. I do think, obviously, they've done with half the payroll what teams only wish they can do there. But they were so good. 41-18 at home this year. But you got to get the schedule really played into their hands, Tom. And even when they go out west here, and you start beating up the Seattles of the world and the Athletics of the world, the remaining schedule it's kind of favorable here. There's not a lot except for a series against the Yankees here in Boston, but I think we're going to learn a little something over the next 4 to 6 weeks to see whether they can be a contender or a pretender. And I'm talking about not just in the American League pennant, but can they win it all, Tom? Is that even, can you look at them and go, yes, they got the pitching, the hitting, they got the bullpen. Can they get it done and run the table? That remains to be seen for me.
I would say the same. Frankly, I still think I would take the Braves in a series straight up over the Rays.
Yeah.
So I put the Rays, okay, we want to put the Dodgers in the top tier. That's fine. It really comes down to who's that next tier. And to me, it's comprised of, let's call it in order, the Braves, the Brewers, the Rays, the Yankees, the Phillies, in that order specifically. Yeah. So I think they're in that second class, but I'm not sure they have enough to beat the Dodgers. And again, if they run a little bit cold in the postseason, they have to run into the Yankees or even a red-hot Red Sox team, that could spell trouble for them.
Yep, big time. And we're gonna see here. I do think home field will matter for them if they can continue to run the table and grab that, but. I'm hearing Stanton now is a week away from also getting back into the rehab situation there. We know Judge and the light work. Best case scenario, they're back when, Tom? September?
Yeah.
Regular season
Stanton, Bellinger, Judge apparently is the order that they'll return. And I think it's going to be September 15th. If they can all be back by September 15th, let's call it a month from now, they can all be back. I think you start off Judge as just the DH. You don't have him playing the field. You don't want to stress things too much. And then as the final week of the season goes on, he can ramp up on field. He plays a game or two in the outfield, and then you'd be ready to roll. And that's what makes the Yankees dangerous, is that if they have a postseason as they did 2 years ago when Judge and Stanton were hitting a million home runs, that's something that most teams can't keep up with. And the fact that the Yankees have top-tier pitching and one of the best pitching staffs and have – 3 game-1 starters, essentially, that you could be throwing out there between Fried, Schlittler, and Cole, knowing that you could still bring in someone like Will Warren or Carlos Rodon and bring them out of the bullpen in a series and still get your 4 innings out of those guys.
Yeah. I can't wait. I think it's top-heavy, but I do think it's going to be fun to watch how this all goes on down the stretch because they've yet to go through that big lull, too. We'll see. You got to be playing the best baseball at the right time. That's what it's all about. Now, you and I yesterday, Tom, we mentioned the unbelievable hat giveaway at the White Sox game last night, right? I saw those. I saw a report of the hat. I want one. I don't know how that is just an amazing idea. What did they give, 20, 30,000 of them away or something along those lines? They had a sellout there. They were immediately being sold on eBay afterwards, I think, for about $70, $80 here. Did the White Sox blow it last night?
They did. Especially when they were up, what was it, 4-1? And they blew against a team like the Reds, nonetheless, that have been extremely mediocre and are, clinging to any hope, not even a wild card spot. They're clinging to hope of a wild card spot. And the White Sox have been great at home. So it was a super fun giveaway. Those are those hats and the promotion that they have. Honestly, whoever came up with that and then got it approved and got those things made in the prototypes, that's unbelievable. Unreal. And they deserve some type of credit.
Yeah, they were giving away Pope hats. It was Pope hat last night because apparently he's a White Sox fan. And they just took that and ran, and people were lining up to go get them and then immediately put them up for auction on eBay, Tom. What a great idea. Unbelievable. And the White Sox blew the game when it mattered the most. Unreal. Great promotion, though.
Great stuff. We're just getting started. We'll be back right after this.
Sports Grid. It's been an exciting week. Here's a look at some of the highlights that you might have missed.
We were kind of on the, I don't know if ground floor is the right word, because people have been talking about Skeens and his struggles for a little bit, but we were almost like first to the explosion, if you will, in him getting pulled at 65 pitches, and people are now like, what is going on? And I caught a little bit of the Paul Skeens post, game press conference. They met him at his locker room, and there was one reporter, she must have worked for the team, where all the questions are more like softball positivity. But one guy snuck in a, hey, were you surprised to get pulled at 65 pitches? Which Skeens said, no, not really. I probably would have pulled myself too. The manager spoke to me and it made sense. I wish I went more. It is what it is. Now, again, if you watch the video, it's hilarious.
Remember last night I told you live,
you see
I
the
said
video,
they were protecting him from himself.
Gabe, the video is followed up with the reporter going, Paul, one of your most efficient starts of the year. What was working for you? What do you mean what was working for him? What do you mean what was working? It was driving me nuts. But yeah, this Paul Skeens stuff has now kind of broken containment a little bit here. Does he make his next start? Right? I think we're on Paul Skeens' watch now in a very big way, in my opinion, Gabe.
One thing, becomes uncomfortable, though, is a lot of non-pitching experts like us start discussing what's his problem. And I'm seeing, I see a story here right now about his horizontal release, right? About his release point and all this stuff. But, if Sports Illustrated writers know this, then you don't think that the Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff, sees these different things as well, right? So, I don't know. I mean, clearly there's a velocity issue. I think the weight issue could be a problem, that he's too bulked up. His release seems slower to me. It's funny because I said that yesterday, and I didn't point out the release point, but it just seems to be just sort of more, just a sort of a step slower, right? Just the whole process and the release, of the ball and everything. I think, hitters just sort of, they're not fearing them. They're just sort of, they're digging in a little bit more as opposed to scared. I might get hit in the face with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I think the fear factor is gone, right? So that's a big thing. I don't think people realize that. Professional baseball players can hit a baseball, but they're human beings. And I don't care who you are. If Miz throws a ball 104 miles an hour from 60 feet away, you got a problem. Right? So you're kind of at the mercy. And some of these pitchers scare people, right? The tall dudes. These guys are massive. We talked about it the other day. Big, tall dude. He's on the hill. He's elevated. And you're like, dear God, this guy throws 100 miles an hour every pitch, and he doesn't even know where it's going sometimes, right? and it gets into batters' minds. They don't dig in as much. I think batters are sort of digging in right now with Skeens. You know what I mean? They're like, he can't top 95 anyways, right? So they're not scared of him.
But this is one of the things that I was curious about, because he said, Gabe, the manager laid it out for me and it made sense. And he could have said to him, you were going to give up a 2-run homer, but Brian Reynolds robbed it. So honestly, you're pitching like garbage, which would have been valid. He could have said to him, though, your velocity is in shambles. I'm not sending you back out there. Now, again, I didn't hear that expanded on because, again, it was hey, Paul, pretty efficient outing when you look up the numbers. I was starting to get real angry at the phone.
If you were anybody else, it would be, right? That was this whole thing. Anyone else would be like, hey, good job, right? You won 5. They got you out of there. They protected you from the third time around the order.
Anyone else would have got sent back out, to your point,
except
Gabe,
it's
right?
Paul Skeens. Except it's Paul Skeens. Yeah. And just
so
for the record,
at it differently.
His next start is Saturday against the Boston Red Sox.
Ooh.
These Boston Red Sox. They go to Pittsburgh after this.
Wow. Interesting. Oh, yeah, I don't know if he makes
Who have been smoking hot, right? But the offense is slowed down for the Sox right now.
By the way, just before we get caught in this break here, Gabe, I'm going to try something we did the other day. with the Brewers money line at plus 350, where
we're going
to the bottom of the 10th.
If it goes back and forth, you get the plus on both sides.
Now that is some good stuff, and we're just getting started. We'll be right back after this.
Been a busy week here at SportsGrid. Let's take a look back at what you might have missed throughout the week.
We were just laughing because they just came out with the first NFL coach fired markets yesterday, Tom. And, of course, Aaron Glenn, the Jets, right up at the top there at a nice 2-to-1 price. Zach Taylor, Cincinnati, also hot seat. I think that's fair. Todd Bowles also in I just feel like Todd Bowles is getting set up to fail, though. Do you not get that feeling here in Tampa Bay? Like, what are you're leaving? You can't sign he's got no quarterback. You got no franchise quarterback. You've thoroughly done everything to make life miserable for Tampa Bay. It just feels like Tampa's this is a playthrough year, fire everyone, and hit the reset button. Mbuka, I believe, just got hurt earlier today as well in practice.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation for Tampa. You think that a team that's had relative stability over the past few years, like they haven't been great since Brady left. They can make the playoffs. Yep. They're always in contention to win the division. And now we have these reports coming out that, Baker's not getting the contract or the offer that he wants. And he's saying if, once the season starts, he's going to wait till after the season. Vita Vea is requesting a trade. They say they're not trading him. Emeka Egbuka, got hurt earlier today at practice. Mike Evans is gone. It's kind of all over the place. And I think the floor for the Bucs is really low. And they dealt with a lot of offensive line issues last year, a lot of injuries. Obviously, that's just the course of how things go in football. But I want to say the floor for them is real low. But also, if things go well, they can win that division. Well, they think that is a winnable division for them. The Saints, I think the Saints will be better than they were last year. I think the Panthers are not as good as they were last year. I think the Falcons can be interesting. But that's a winnable division for like 3 of those teams. Yet the Bucs could also end with like 5 or 6 wins, and it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I mean, the one position you need to lock up is quarterback. And the fact that you allowed that to get to the point where your starting quarterback, who basically have you not had him over the last couple of seasons, it would have been, you ain't even in a conversation. But you allowed that to get to a point now, Tom, where you went into the preseason and camps with him just, in front of a microphone ripping like none of that is good at all here. I feel bad for Todd Bowles because I think the guy did a great job while he was there, but they are legit just setting him up to fail in a big, big way. And I thought, too, it was funny when the odds came out. I was always interested in, all right, so who's untouchable? Like, who's got the longest odds to be the first coach fired here? And I thought for sure it would have been one of the new head coach. But the new head coaches aren't it. Joe Brady, Jesse Minter, they're in the same price category as Andy Reid. So anything is possible there. But there's only 2 guys that are untouchable according to the markets that will not be fired, or the first one to be fired anytime soon. And it's not that hard to figure out. Who do you think one of them is, Tom?
Well, who's got the most positive vibes going for him? You just won a Super Bowl. You're going to be good for a couple of years, right? Even if they make the playoffs, you lose in the first round. Even if they don't make the playoffs, the Seattle Seahawks were talking about Mike McDonald. Even if they don't, you say, listen, we dealt with injuries this year. It was a super tough. It was this, it was that, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, listen, we'll be back to next year. It's him. And I would say Andy Reid has to be in that same category. Like there's nothing that Andy Reid can do that would set him up to be fired. I just don't see no world. As long as Mahomes is there, Andy Reid will be there as well.
I'm with you. And Andy Reid and John Harbaugh in that same price range, like 200, 250 to 1. The other guy that's 500 to 1 with McDonald is Sean McVay. He's another guy that likely will not be going. I think McVay and McDonald are good to go. The guy that currently has a job that has been there, Vrabel, is almost 12 to 1. Vrabel is not losing his job anytime soon unless something else comes up. But I doubt that very much. Shane Steichen is the guy that has the most tenure right now that looks like he's single digits. 8 to 1, somewhere in that ballpark there. Shane Steichen's not on the hot seat, is he? I mean, Ballard should be. The GM should be on the hot seat for Indiana. I don't think Shane Steichen should be.
It's just that I think it's because the Colts are just swimming in mediocrity. It's like, they're good enough to have 7, 8, 9 wins. Maybe they make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be terrible. I don't think they'll be a 2-win team. But how long can you keep going through this? Like, we're fine. Again, they're in a somewhat winnable division. That's the issue that I have with some of these teams and the coaches. Like, they're just okay. And some ownership groups like that. It's like, hey, if you get us to 9 wins, we can be in the mix. Like, we're going to be the playoff team this year. And that sells tickets. So therefore, they like that.
News of the industry. Okay, news of the industry. Connecticut's in the news, actually, for doing something positive. A judge has rejected every major cow sheet argument in a comprehensive ruling against sports contracts. A federal court in Connecticut denied cow sheet an injunction that would have protected it from enforcement from the state gaming board in Connecticut. This is interesting now, rejecting every argument on almost every possible question in one of the most comprehensive rulings against prediction markets to date. U.S. District Court for the District of Connecticut on Monday denied Couchy an injunction that would have protected it from Connecticut's enforcement wing for claiming that sports contracts are sports gambling. The two main questions, like other state versus prediction market lawsuits, are whether or not the Commodities Exchange Act, CEA, preempts state gambling laws. And if it does, whether sports contracts sport event contracts can be classified as swaps in order to be covered by the preemption. Kalshi argued yes to both, and it needs to win both to win an injunction to shield it from enforcement from Connecticut's gambling wing. A court ruled against Kalshi on one argument. It wouldn't need to find the decision on the other. Yet the judge, Vernon D. Oliver, ruled against Kalshi on both arguments, even noting that he did not need to make a decision on both questions in order to issue an opinion. Even within each question, Judge Oliver found multiple reasons to side with Connecticut over Kalshi. Does this change anything? Well, it's just another story in the long list of losses for prediction market companies against states. Novig sued Massachusetts yesterday in a lawsuit that looks very similar to other prediction markets because Novig is now a 50-state prediction market company, and Novig would like to be able to operate in football season. So what Novig did was they sued Mass preemptively because they knew Mass would come after them. And so now it's at least 90 days until their court case is going to be heard with the lawsuit against Massachusetts, which means they're going to be able to operate in the state for most of the NFL football season, and that is what they are looking for. They sued 4 other states, I believe. There was 3 other states that they sued as well for the same purpose, because you can have a football season and make a lot of money right now in the prediction market space, and if you lose, you lose, but all the prediction market companies, DraftKings and FanDuel included, are all tied together with this about whether or not they can offer sport event contracts. Prediction markets are not going away. I think that needs to be pushed really heavily by a lot of people, because I think there's a question about all prediction markets. That's not the case. It is only the sport side of things. It is not all. Whether you want to bet on the price of soybeans or you want to predict the weather in California, those things will exist long after this fight. It entirely comes down to whether or not you can bet on the Red Sox and the Blue Jays game tonight, on Kalshi, on Polymarket, on Novig.
All right, good stuff there. We're just getting started. We'll be right back.
For me, Ohtani is the MVP, even if he pitches 15 games a year and that's it. The guy's the best hitter in baseball, or one of them, and pitches, even if it's 15 games a year and he's great, sign me up. I think he still wins, but I think I like the other investments there.
Yeah, I would say we're in total agreement on this. Ohtani's going to win the award, but that doesn't mean that A, he's a good investment at this point, and B, another player isn't a good investment.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What Michigan has to play versus Penn State is insane. Like, instead of Big Ten teams worrying about SEC and all that, like, Michigan fans should not be happy about what Matt Campbell gets to walk into. James Franklin's got to be kicking himself. Penn State do not play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. They avoided the entire Big Three of the conference. It's incredible.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You know, the dark days are ahead for the Warriors. And when Curry and Kerr and Draymond all leave, what are we going to be looking at that franchise that has been a mainstay of the NBA, you know, the face of the NBA and NBA playoffs for so long? Where are they going to be? So I see no issue with them bringing Draymond back. Why not? You have one last go at things with the trio that they still have there. But I see this as a very long season.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Just can't win the big game. He can't get us in the big game. Well, we got to let him go now because we're tired. We'll keep the quarterback. So, you know what I've been saying? Okay, you kept the quarterback. Guess what? Mr. Lamar Jackson, it's on you now.
Hey,
it's on you.
Absolutely.
Right? It's on Lamar.
It is. It is totally on him now and the new coaching staff there.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
been a great week here on SportsGrid. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights that you might have missed.
Are live from 7 to 10, covering your preseason action, the official start of preseason. We got some news for the Saturday preseason slate, Gabe, that Deshaun Watson will start that game. But I almost feel like, and not that it's surprising, but the news to me is less Watson is starting and more this is a clear-cut battle between Watson and Sanders, and this Browns job is really, truly up for grabs.
It is, and this, it's an ideal preseason situation to be in. And there's a couple of tidbits and notes, actually, as far as the preseason is concerned, because I see a lot of this right now, and we'll get a head start on this, and I'm glad that we're going to be on tomorrow night for all this. Can't wait. 7 o'clock, too, so we come on at 7, and I tell you what, we have the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals at 7. We have the Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7. With the Colts and Patriots at 7:30. Really curious, Kevin, about, we'll get our first look at Mendoza. We'll get another look at Carson Beck, Arizona, and the Raiders tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern. Houston Texans and the Chargers, but just a couple of, news, tidbits and notes. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions and overreactions in the preseason is, they're starting their starters. Nothing in a similar situation, Kevin, as we just talked about, that you just did and you blindly bet the team at plus 350. I like nothing better than taking the other team against the team that, quote unquote, starting their starters. All right? So what does starting their starters mean? A drive or two? A possession?
Yeah.
Right? And people like the point spreads, there's these massive overreactions, and somehow people think that what do you really think Joe Burrow is playing because Zach Taylor said, yeah, we're going to play our regulars more in the preseason now? They're 6.5-point favorites. They're 6.5-point favorites. And the Detroit Lions, we're getting Joshua Dobbs, right? It's not going to be Jared Goff. So we're getting Joshua Dobbs, who's a very serviceable quarterback. And I like Luke Altmaier. So to me, Kevin, and I know you know college football, so it's sort of this, how do you feel about the quarterbacks in the second half? So I personally like Luke Altmaier. I think he'll be fine for getting 6.5 there. Good example, Aaron Rodgers isn't playing tomorrow, and McCarthy did tip his hand, which I liked. He said that the starters will play a series or two, and then the second stringers will play the rest of the half, and then the second half will be everybody else. So what that means is Mason Rudolph gets a series or two tomorrow. Will Howard gets the rest of the first half, and Drew Aller. So how do you feel about how do you feel about having your money on Drew Aller in the second half tomorrow against the Packers? You like that or you don't? Right, that's what a lot of this stuff comes down to.
I don't hate it, but I guess my question, Gabe, is how much football is Tyrod Taylor playing that Green Bay are favorites in this game? Because a Rodgers-Mason Rudolph half, I don't imagine Jordan Love's playing a ton of action here.
Hey, Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Drew Aller preseason combo is a pretty damn good preseason NFL combo to have.
Absolutely. So again, that's where I'm a little
on a Packer team that's always fragile and a little injured to begin with. I know Matt LaFleur is not going to be in some excited mood to send any statement tomorrow. We need to win this game.
Silly, but is 37-year-old Tyrod Taylor being told, hey, yeah, do me a favor, buddy, go out there and play a half of preseason football? That sounds ridiculous.
No. And like you said, you and I have talked about last week with Pickett, Taylor's the backup quarterback. They know this. And they can't afford to get him hurt either. They can't afford to get him hurt. He's the backup.
Yeah.
So, I like the Steelers tomorrow in this spot personally. And they're at home. McCarthy's first game in Pittsburgh. Drew Aller, a guy that kind of underachieved in college a little bit, but oftentimes, we saw, he's very similar to Carson Beck, actually, too. Right? And just sort of, he might be one of these dudes that was wow, he looks a lot better now than he did at Penn State. Right? I'm not ready to write him off. He is a physical specimen. He's got a cannon for an arm and all that. So I'm just throwing it out there, that situation. Mendoza, we'll get a look at Mendoza tomorrow with the Raiders as well, and Arizona playing in their second game, which I got to dig into, Kevin, because oftentimes the teams that play in a Hall of Fame game really mail it in this game, the next one.
The question is this going to be Justin Herbert's year, given where this offense is, given where the quarterback is in his career? He is newly engaged. He has a lot of attention on him from non-football fans, and this schedule is pretty good. I like this schedule. I don't love where the bye is for the Chargers, okay? But look at the start. They get the Cardinals and the Raiders at home. If you're a Charger fan, you're like, okay, we're 2-0. Now, you're probably going to be 2-2 after your first 4 games because you win your first 2 home games, you lose your first 2 road games. But if you could somehow go and beat the Buffalo Bills or beat the Seahawks, again, I'm not that high on the Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to come back down to earth. I think without Kubiak running that offense, got some questions, there's some injuries there for Seattle. It could be a 3-1 start where you lose to the Bills and you beat the Seahawks. Then the Chargers come back home to play the Broncos and then to Kansas City to open up the season for the first 6 weeks. I think if you're a Charger fan and you're trying to figure out, okay, can we go 4-2 to start the year? I think you would sign up for that every single time. Now you open up 3-3, it's a little bit of a different conversation, a little bit of a different worry there if you open up 3-3. What you don't want to do is open up 2-4. And that would be you win your first 2 games and then you lose the rest until you get to the bye week. Could that happen? 100% that could happen. You obviously don't want that to happen, but that would be one of those situations. If you're a Charger fan, there is a little bit of an up and down situation here for them with what direction they might wind up going. Now, you go after the bye at the Rams. Okay, that's not easy. But after you get through the Texans.
All right, good stuff there. We're just getting started. We'll be right back.
Welcome to SportsGrid. It's been quite a week. Here's a look at some of what you might have missed. Stefanski gives the old, yeah, we're not really ready to name a week one starter yet. Who are some of the other names that could be because it won't be Penix. We know that. So it's either Tua or what are we dealing with here? Who else could it possibly be?
Right now, listed QB3 is Cooper Rush for the Falcons, who he has NFL experience. He's played in NFL games. He's started NFL games.
Yep.
Whether or not we think those were good or bad or acceptable or whatever it is, he has some experience. So I assume he'll get a good amount of run in that in that game for them. They're playing Denver, which is always interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A proven team versus a new team. That's really interesting. I got to say, for tomorrow's slate, the most interesting game to me is Pittsburgh versus Green Bay. It's a 1.5 point spread. Pittsburgh's at home. Part of me kind of likes Pittsburgh in this spot. McCarthy going up against his former team. I haven't seen the official word. I'm not expecting Aaron Rodgers to play, but Mason Rudolph and Drew Allard, we have actually somewhat of competent QB play for the Steelers. Also, I don't know if McCarthy wants to, bring it to his former team, but again, you want to have a change in culture. He's taking over after Tomlin, who was there forever. So, a turning point in the franchise and getting off on the right foot, I think, is big. So the Steelers are at least somewhat intriguing to me tomorrow.
Yeah, they are. I think that whole year with McCarthy is going to be extremely interesting to see where they go, how does it all come together? There's a lot of age in that locker room there. So we're going to see. I'm also very interested to see if, a 48-year-old quarterback is going to start, or is a $250 million overpriced quarterback going to start for the Browns? Who is the Browns starting quarterback? And the reason we don't know is Todd Monken was asked, who's going to play in the preseason game? Forget about naming a starter for a year. Who's your starter for the first preseason game? And the answer was, don't know. But whoever it is, they're going to play the first half. So we're going to get a half from whoever they start. The problem is it Deshaun Watson? Is it Shador Singh? Does it even matter at this point? Or is Deshaun Watson just a guy, you've paid him all of this money, come hell or high water, you're going to get some money's worth out of it at some point here?
I think Deshaun Watson is going to be starting week one. I've said this for a couple of months at this point, and I think it's because of that. They just need to justify it to themselves as the Browns front office. Like, hey, we traded for him. We gave up those picks. We paid him. We might as well start, right? Like, we might as well. We have to. Like, we have to at least do it just for some self-validation that they need to have him out there. I don't know if he'll be out there for long. Sanders is going to be there. Dylan Gabriel has starting experience. They drafted Taylor Green this past draft. They have 4 quarterbacks that they're going to be rolling out throughout the preseason. Again, I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson. I don't think Deshaun Watson's good, but I do think he will be starting week one, barring an injury.
Yeah, let's hope so, because otherwise that will go down as, single-handedly the worst contract ever in the history of it's got to be up there, Tom, right? I mean, Jamarcus Russell, first pick aside, and that was terrible. But this is what they gave up and paid for this guy is just, at some point, you just come. You got to roll him out there, and he's got to play, and not just one game. Like, he's got to play a full season. No,
I think they have to do that, or the ownership, not the front office, whoever signed off on the Watson trade and extension, they need to come out and just be like, hand up, like, that was on me. We messed up. And you have to come out because you can't drag the fan base along, which has been a tortured fan base for decades at this point, especially at the quarterback. But you can't drag them along and be like, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll draft another guy. We'll tank this year. We'll draft one of these top quarterbacks, next April. So you just have to remember, like, we messed up. And we set the franchise back, and I take responsibility. Like, someone has to come out and say that.
Yeah, and they better do. I think it's going to be a rough year for Browns fans once again. It's always a rough year, it feels like. But usually this time of year, Tom, is great hope for, franchises that usually aren't that good, right? So as Jet fans, we all understand that, this is the best time of year, right? Because the sky's the limit. It's good. And then week 1 or week 2 will set in, and then we'll be like... And that'll do it. Hope you enjoyed this week's content, and certainly hope you'll come back and join us again next week here on the SportsGrid Network.
Tonight, the stage is set for another intense battle between Oakland and Salt Lake here on Friday Night Frisbee. Next. Zions Bank Stadium has been the home of the Salt Lake Shred since the team's 2022 inception. Championship weekend was here just a couple years ago, and tonight the Oakland Spiders invade the mountains of Utah. They're the best in the West. They're 9-1. They got elevation tonight in Utah. They go to elevation tomorrow at Colorado. And tonight they get the Salt Lake Shred, who are trying to get to the 500 mark for the season. Welcome to Free Friday Frisbee. One last time for the regular season with a partner, Ian Toner. I'm Evan Lepler. And Ian, it hasn't been the season that Bryce Merrill hoped it would be. But in his words, they're one game away from the playoffs, in which it's one and done. It's a situation they've been in the past. And he has used this phrase before: we are here to do hard things. How hard is it going to be for the Shred tonight against the Spiders?
This is a prove-it game for both squads. Oakland started this season on a very strong note, beating opponents like Salt Lake by 10 goals or more. And since then, they've kind of cooled off in the second half of the season. Tighter margins, throwing more turnovers. Salt Lake has to prove that they're ready for the playoff challenge, and they got a great opportunity to rematch Oakland after playing them to within one just a few weeks ago.
Great news for the Spiders. Daniel Ridaller, who hasn't played since the end of June, is back in the lineup for Oakland tonight. He moved from D-line after the past 2 years to offense at the start of the season, and it's amazing how quickly he was dominant in that center handler role.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's been an unbelievable facilitator for this group, and even though he's been the one facilitating, he still found himself finishing so many sequences. Earlier in the season, he was a league leader in goals scored, and he's still actually leading the team in goals scored at this stage of the season. I think this is going to be huge for the O-line's chemistry tonight.
Well, Oakland is the 1 seed in the West, regardless of what happens the next couple of days. But with Chad Jorgensen, the Shred always have a chance. They got a chance tonight. They got a chance next week in the playoff opener against Seattle to try to
with his shot selection. Really poised with the disc in his hands in a way that he wasn't as a younger player. His ability to be a prudent has been.
As always here at Zions Bank Stadium, it's an awesome, ultimate atmosphere. Teams getting introduced as we bring you the keys to victory, brought to you by Victory. Ian, what's most important here tonight?
Well, I think there's going to be a little bit of a different look here for, I beg your pardon, looking at Oakland, this team needs to control the tempo. This is a group that really understands, as it's reflected on this second half of the season, that it can let the game kind of move away from the group in a pace that it wants. So they want to play the offensive pace that they want, dictate defensively as well. They also want to treat everything, this whole experience, like championship weekend. It'd be easy to just send another squad, but this team has to treat this like a really strong experience. Salt Lake, on the other hand, we know that their bugaboo has been the throwaways that aren't really blocks from the other team. They need to limit those, and also the end of quarter defense has been a real challenge, and they need to do their best to try and defend and actually possess in those sequences.
All right, final weekend of the regular season. A thunderstorm blew through about 45 minutes ago, but we are on track for an on-time opening pull. It's the third and final meeting of the regular season between two of the three playoff teams out west, the Shred and the Spiders. Friday Night Frisbee next. The Ultimate Frisbee Association is proud to partner with Victory. Elevate your game with Victory insoles and recovery footwear at VKTRY.com. Delta THC Seltzers. No calories, no sugar, no alcohol. Catch life's moments at DrinkDelta.com. Two Town Cider House, bringing the best craft cider for everyday celebrations. Find yours at TwoTownCiderHouse.com. And Diskit. Round Net meets Ultimate. Diskit is the must-have portable game for every UFA fan. Get yours at DiskitGame.com. The Oakland Spiders are looking to get back to championship weekend for the first time since the franchise won it all as the San Jose Spiders 11 years ago. Oakland beat Seattle in their only regular season meeting, so even if they lose twice this weekend and Seattle beats Oregon, the Spiders are the number one seed. But Seattle is hosting Salt Lake next Saturday night in the opening round playoff game out west. One more game to play here at Zions Bank Stadium in 2026. And this Oakland offense, when they were here at the end of June, turned it over 25 times, but they didn't have Daniel Riddaller, and he finds a wide open man downfield to get things moving here on this opening possession. Dexter Clyburn connects with Leo Gordon. And this Oakland O-line with Walker Frankenberg as well is just chock full of talent. The way they attack angles, the way they keep the disc moving. That disc, though, is blocked on the mark by Tony Maunga, who's shaken up in the aftermath. Tony comes up hobbling, but he gets the game's opening block less than 45 seconds in.
Great adaptive experience there from Tony. He kind of gambled a little bit with a lunge as the thrower stepped out. You hope that he's going to be able to return, because he is a key difference maker, and he's got to be haunting some of the Spiders' dreams when you think about the defensive performance he turned in last year's West Division Championship game.
3 blocks in the fourth quarter and the wild shred comeback, but Salt Lake, this has been an issue lately, break conversions. The turnover there out of the hands of Everett Saunders, and that has been an issue for him throughout the season too. One thing about this Oakland team, Ian, as it's a great bid by Boyd Flegel to lay out and maintain possession. A little scratchy start for the Spiders. Up the line, it's Boyd Flegel, and he's got Leo Gordon in the end zone. So Adkins, Boyd Flegel, and Gordon able to eventually punch it in. This Oakland team on the season, their O-line conversion rate is 4th in the league, but their hold rate is 2nd, only trailing New York.
Yeah, this is a group that can kind of do anything against any opponent. They can chisel and slice and dice with handler movement. They can stretch the field once the disc gets up to Leo Gordon in the middle layer to someone taking off deep. And really difficult to disrupt this group and get it out of rhythm. And we take a look at this Salt Lake O-line, the pressure goes back to them now.
Oscar Brown on this O-line for Salt Lake for the 2nd straight game. No Jace Dunabile tonight, suspended for excessive physicality in the last Oakland game. Russ Noggle resets to Jacob Miller, the veteran. And here's Russ Noggle coming underneath. And we do get a little bit of contact. Grayson Retberg playing his first game of the season for the Shred.
What a sequence. Just slot right into this O-line against the top team in the division.
Retberg, University of Utah, has only played 4 games in the UFA over the past 2 seasons. But he picks up the opening assist and a pretty smooth start for Salt Lake's offense. McKay Jorgensen with the score.
I mean, how many times have we seen Jordan Kerr change the angle of attack just a little bit, keep the offense on the move, and an easy finish there into the hands of McKay Jorgensen. I think Magsig had really good pressure right before he fouled Retberg. He had a good read on that cut. He kind of didn't fall for the jab and was just a step behind him. I wonder if he's keying in on that pattern, and later in the game perhaps he pulls the trigger on a bid there as he's chasing him underneath.
The Salt Lake team has been the juggernaut in the West. In their first 4 seasons, they went 42-6 in the regular season. They never lost more than 2 games in a regular season, Ian. But they've lost the last 3 games they've played. It's an unprecedented losing streak in franchise history. But if you ask Bryce Merrill, he hadn't been overly concerned. He said, we knew early in the season with the way the schedule worked out, we were in good position to make the playoffs. So we've been fortunate. We've had time to tinker and try to raise our ceiling that we're going to need against this Oakland team in the playoffs. Riddaller in the deep space, hauls it in, chased by Jean Leroux. Leo Gordon with his second goal of the quarter to get things started for the Spiders.
Yeah, and I think if you go back and you watch some of the tape, for instance, of the last Oakland matchup, I think you can spot sequences on film where, hey, maybe Bryce Merrill and his staff were putting out a specific personnel grouping or making a defensive set call just to gather data and see what particularly would force a particular response from Oakland. Maybe some of those calls wouldn't necessarily get made with a season or a game on the line, but I think, to your point, this coaching staff has done a great job trying to learn what it can while it's had the luxury of not being in must-win scenarios.
Leo Gordon was a USA U20 World Junior Champion back in 2018. A couple of his teammates will be going for a World Junior Championship in Logroño, Spain, early tomorrow morning. Stefan McCall, Mohamed Alais, two Spiders that are overrepresenting the red, white, and blue in Spain. Chad Jorgensen shoots it deep, and he's got a wide open target for the score. Oscar Brown hauls it in.
I mean, that's just the full Chad Jorgensen experience right there. This was out of frame in the replay there, but his double, almost triple move at midfield left the defender in the dust. And you have to respect Chad any way he goes, because he's going to burn you with a throw like that, or he's going to take off and put you on a poster if he's going deep as a receiver. And right there, that's the dual threat on display, earning the separation underneath and throwing the continuation huck. And Brown looking right at home on this O-line.
Bryce Merrill has said, if Chad is on, we are a hard team to stop. Since the start of the 2025 season, including that throw, he is 53 of his last 66 on hucks, over 80%. Two turnovers on the game's opening point. Spiders did ultimately hold 3 straight clean holds, and now another miscue from the Spiders. The pass a little bit behind Frankenberg, and it requires a layout effort at midfield from Luke Jorgensen to maintain possession. Bryce Merrill following the official on the sideline. Matt Rustnagel with the disc in his hands, won't have a chance to throw. Timeout, Shred.
So that's interesting there. I didn't catch the previous D point, but we haven't seen Matt Rustnagel playing a whole lot of D so far this season. And coming into tonight, he in fact only played a single D point. So I don't know if Bryce Merrill is making a big line switch, or that was just in the moment, let's double shift Snog. But something to keep an eye on. Are we going to see some personnel getting mixed up here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bryce is planning on trying different things. I mean, he's willing to experiment. He knows that whether they're 6-6 or 5-7,
yeah,
all that matters is what they bring to Seattle next Saturday.
For sure. And I mean, you and I know, I feel like that timeout is also maybe a bit out of character from what we've seen from Bryce in recent years. We know he loves to tire out the opposing offense as much as possible, and so maybe tonight he's just going to have a quicker trigger on the timeout whistle and see how much opportunity he actually gives these D-lines to convert breaks, or how much he just wants the O-line to do it.
Jordan Kerr initiates against a brief double team, and then Itai Chang runs away and matches up with a reset. All alone, Chad Jorgensen accelerating away from the defense. Back for his younger brother McKay, and now Jordan Kerr.
It's got to be an option for him to continue using the width of the field there. That's what was needed.
Chad Jorgensen to the back of the end zone, too tall for Simon Dastrup.
The look was there. He did have to go over one layer of the defense to get there.
So it's Evan Magsig who's picked up the disc a lot of times for the Spiders through the years, working with Valley and Robin Vickers-Batzdorf.
So again, this is an O point for Oakland, and the shred, essentially O-line that came in after the timeout, is getting worked here and has to find a way to get the ball back. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen if they get broken. Who Bryce is going to send out there?
Floating for a long way, McKay Jorgensen there defensively. There's a little bit of contact, but it's ruled incomplete on the deep shot intended for Chang. Live action, Salt Lake goes long. Chad Jorgensen by the sideline, inbounds. Looking to Kerr. Jordan Kerr, can he get there? No, that's the second Chad Jorgensen throw out the back this point. My goodness.
I'd love to see a different angle of that McKay Jorgensen versus Chang matchup. I thought from up here at the booth live that was a foul on McKay, but we'll have to see if we can get another angle to inform our judgment.
Vickers-Batzdorf leaves his feet, keeps it alive for the visiting Spiders. And then his throw, wasn't clear whether it was Robinson or Valley, but Valley takes charge. Valley, former Chicago Union, former Los Angeles Aviator, working with Itai Chang. Long grinding point. This point began with 8:39 to go. There's been one timeout already. Liam Price, the Spiders coach, is not standing right alongside the shoulder of the referee on the Oakland sideline. He's very content, Ian, to let this D-line work it all the way. Dylan Burns to Itai Chang. It is an adventurous hold for the Spiders and a huge missed opportunity for the Shred with their best player turning the disc over twice.
Yeah, tough point for Chad. You saw the looks. The execution just wasn't there. As we get another look here. Here's Chang with position. McKay coming on his backside. Well, it looks like a fair bit of contact to me. Beyond incidental. Again,
all's well that ends well.
He finishes the point, and again, we have the benefit of different angles, replay, slower motion. The referees, of course, with different vantage points on the field, and calling it live.
Dylan Villeneuve launches the pull, and at elevation, he maybe have a little bit more power than he expects as he throws it over the fence.
This is just a tough sequence for Salt Lake here, because this is a D-line unit that's going to have to go out there and get a hold somehow. And if nothing else, they want to score efficiently, but they also want to give even more time for their traditional O-line to catch its breath after that marathon previous point.
Alex Forsberg with nobody behind him. Luke Jorgensen makes himself free. Luke, the oldest of the three Jorgensen brothers on the Shred. Rusnagel in the end zone, and Salt Lake does convert the hold. Nice shot from Cole Stenseth.
What a look, and no fear from Stenseth, as the mark was kind of threatening there, but didn't fully close and seal off. And this is why Matt Rusnagel is out there on that point. You know he's got great cutting instincts, timing, can get some separation deep on the break side there.
That was the first career UFA assist for Cole Stenson. In style. His 4th game of the season, the 7th game he's played in the UFA. Everett Saunders launches a pull. 3-all, 8 minutes in. Reed Browning, stride for stride with Walker Frankenberg. A lot of contact there, but the throw does get through, and now the deep shot floating for a while. Frankenberg chased by Dastrup, clipped a little bit from behind, and he spikes it. They're going to call interference as well, give Oakland an additional 10 yards on the pull.
I mean, Walker's no stranger to putting up video game numbers against Oakland. I beg your pardon, against Salt Lake. And a little contact on the forearm there from Dastrup, and Frankenberg not a fan of that one, letting him know. And what a shot there from Riddaller. We've seen him stretching the field with his throws and his legs, no surprise. Fitting in well.
2 assists, game high, 193 total yards already for Riddaller. And before he had a hamstring issue, he was right in the mix with Toba DeCrana, Alex Atkins in the MVP conversation.
Was just about to say that.
I beat you to it.
Wasn't the first time, and it certainly won't be the last.
So initiating from the sideline, no double team. Chad to his brother McKay. Back to Chad. Looking cross field. Grayson Retberg is the target, but for the 3rd time in the quarter, Chad Jorgensen has thrown the disc out of bounds.
Man, I'm wondering if Chad is feeling a little pressure, or if these are just...
But he gets it right back. It's a layout. Callahan! Chad Jorgensen making amends. Spectacular. 4-all. It's how to change the subject.
Well, this is the loudest we've heard the Shredhead so far this evening, and great reason for them to get into this one. Talk about making amends. That's how you do it.
It's like a couple weeks ago.
I'd love to hear what that conversation was right there between Chad and Bryce. Sorry, Evan, go ahead.
We'll find out after the game. Now, I was saying a couple weeks ago, William Wettengel for Indy finished with 7 blocks, and several of them came after he turned the disc over. They said if only you could program his mind to play defense like you just turned it over every time. That's what we just saw from Chad Jorgensen. A different level of turbo. 3 turnovers. How about a layout, Callahan?
Oh, man, Walker Frankenberg was wide open deep with no one around him.
Raekwon Atkins, the ridiculously talented youngster. Here's Atkins again. And he dishes to Dexter Clyburn for the score.
Yeah, Forsberg pleading half-heartedly to the official for a pick call there, but I don't know that he was close enough for that to be made.
The rest of the weekend, plenty of action across the UFA. Interdivisional game between DC and Atlanta. The Breeze locked into the 3rd seed in the East. The Hustle officially eliminated from playoff contention after they won the South a year ago. See if they can close the season with a win on their home field against the Breeze. And then on Sunday, Madison and Minnesota. The wind chill will be the top seed in the Central playoffs. Madison, with a win tonight over Chicago, would clinch the 2 seed in the Central. They currently lead 17-10. Ian, the biggest game going on right now in the association, other than what we got here, is Austin at Houston. The Soul with wins over the Havoc tonight and tomorrow will be the 1 seed in the South. It's currently Austin 12, Houston 10 late in the first half.
I mean, Houston pushed Austin to overtime earlier in the season.
They sure did.
So I'm not counting either of those matchups as guaranteed wins for
Chad
Austin.
Jorgensen going deep. Oscar Brown's deep shot is caught by Chad in the end zone. But hang on, a travel called on the throw. Take it off the board.
See if we can look at this point of release one more time. See if we slow it down here as much as we can. Yeah. Great call by, I believe that was Jonathan Monforti right in front of him.
It's a little bit like calling offside to nullify a spectacular goal in the World Cup, but the rule is the rule.
Definitely gained an advantage by dragging that toe.
Here's Carson Armstrong, youngster in his first year with the Shred. Crossfield to Jacob Miller. No breaks for either team so far in this game. Final minute of the first. And Armstrong to Retberg. Couple of youngsters collaborate for that score. It's 5-all here in the first.
So now we're approaching one of the phases that Bryce Merrill believes is extremely important for his team. We know this group has had trouble defending end of quarter situations. Just look at the SportsCenter Top 10 highlight from Hunter May and the Colorado Apex with their walk-off win here earlier this season.
Didn't Bryce say they're 0 for a billion?
I believe that was his language, yes. And so they're starting here on defense. It's perfectly possible that Oakland could score quickly, and great to see Tony Munga back out there.
Yeah, it's huge.
But he's got to, this D-line has to manage this situation if they're able to get the ball back, not give themselves any kind of time to burn that could potentially give Oakland more time with the disc.
Excellent pull. Riddaller from his back line gets it to Gordon, still in Callahan country. Monga chasing Clyburn. Still 80 yards to go for the Spiders. Riddaller doubled by Luke Jorgensen. And Luke left the mark to chase Gordon downfield. 20 seconds left. Boyd Flegel with the clock winding down. 5 seconds, and Frankenberg is in with 4 seconds remaining on the stadium clock.
So, great work by Oakland. Nothing there looked rushed, even when there are a couple instances that the Salt Lake defense was able to set some opportunistic double teams on the sideline and elsewhere, but they didn't panic. It kind of looked like any other O-point out there for them, which is a huge credit to A, how that group operates generally, but B, how nicely Riddaller is sliding back in, and just the way his addition seems to lubricate the whole rest of the flow of the offense, its joints, its gears, everything.
3 assists, 276 yards for Riddaller, who's 11 for 11. 4 seconds for the Shred. McKay Jorgensen receives the pull to his brother Chad. Launches a backhand as far as he can. Going to be short of the end zone. Salt Lake needs a Clutton-esque deflection, and they're not going to get one. Dastrup gets the yards, but the Shred do not score. They will be on offense to start the second quarter. when we come back. Oakland only had one break chance in that first quarter, Ian. The team that leads the league in break rate, and that one break chance ended in a Chad Jorgensen-Callahan. But the Spiders still have a 6-5 lead. No breaks in the...
Welcome to the world of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the oldest and the newest combat sport. Bare Knuckle Fighting had its last champion in 1889, ending the sport's chaotic beginning without weight divisions or round limits and no referees. Over a century later, Bare Knuckle Boxing returned with a modern spin.
It's time to knuckle.
Today, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is regulated by athletic commissions and has become a highly technical and specialized form of combat sport that has drawn top athletes from all disciplines of martial arts. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship presents BKFC Knuckle Up Fight Series.
Tonight, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is back on the stunning Mississippi Gulf Coast as we're live at the Biloxi Civic Center located in this historic city's downtown for BKFC 15. Hey everyone, with Chris Lights Out Lytle, I'm Sean Wheelock. Chris, of course, tonight marks our final Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship event of the year, and despite the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic, we've still had a number of quality fights, really memorable fights.
Great year for us. We had some very big signings as well. Some UFC superstars. Hector Lombard came through with a great knockout in one of his fights. We also had Thiago Alves came through with a great performance. In addition to that, we've had the heavyweight title change hands, and actually for the first time ever, it was actually defended. Besides that, Luis Palomino came through, dominated his division to become one of our best BKFC champs.
The BKFC 2021 schedule will begin Super Bowl weekend in the host city of the Super Bowl, Tampa, Florida. Friday night, February 5th, BKFC 16 main evented by Paige Van Zandt.
And talking about another of those superstars we signed, Paige Van Zandt is a huge superstar. Not only that, only 26 years old. She's in her prime right now and decided to come to BKFC. Very exciting. Not only are we excited about that, but I think every woman in her division is excited about that, Sean. I've never seen so many people who are trying to jockey for a position to get that fight. I think we have people right now tonight who are going to fight who are looking to get that spot as well.
A really intriguing main event, Chris. These two heavyweights have phenomenal power. Bobo O'Bannon versus Sam Shoemaker.
Like we talked about, these guys have great power, able to knock the person out in one punch, but they both go at it in different ways. Bobo O'Bannon's willing to get in there, trade punches, make it a dirty, nasty, grimy fight if he has to. Sam Shoemaker, on the other word, wants to stay on the outside, wants to land his jabs. It's looking to throw that big right hand, which earned him the nickname, the Hillbilly Hammer.
The rules of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, all bouts tonight are under the auspices and control of the Mississippi State Athletic Commission, and all are scheduled for 5 2-minute rounds. They are scored by 3 judges on the 10-point must system. Hand wraps must be at least 1 inch below the knuckles. Punching in the active clinch is allowed. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Fighters cannot be saved by the bell in any round. All kicks, knees, and elbows are illegal, as are all takedowns and submissions. We're now set to start our main card of BKFC 15. Chris Sorrow versus Josh Burns. Our tale of the tape is presented by Mary Jane's House of Class.
Something a little strange right here. You have Sorrows having the height advantage, but Burns having the reach advantage. A little different, but I mean, Burns doesn't even utilize that reach advantage. He wants to get inside. He wants to be the heavy puncher. He wants to throw heavy shots. Chris Sorrows throws heavy shots too. He does it more from the outside. One fact you see their age seems to be 10 years. Like I said, Josh Burns is a little bit older. However, with heavyweights, that's usually not as big of a factor. They don't slow down as much. The power is the last thing they go, and that's usually always there for the heavyweights.
Sorrow said, I can't be emotional, but he was talking to Burns while Jeff Houston was reading the introductions. Round number 1. Man, black trunks with gold trim for Chris Sorrow. Solid black trunks for Josh Burns.
He was talking the whole time, even in the weigh-ins. He was.
And you know, you look at what they've done. They have victories over the 1 and 2 seeds, or have pushed them to overtime or double overtime earlier in the season.
You certainly saw Salt Lake turns it over on the first possession of the second quarter. Dylan Burns zips it into the end zone, and That's Anton Orm in the end zone for the Spiders break.
So Stalkown rising, Armstrong just trying to stay with Kerr, and I don't think he fully pivoted all the way around and put it in Kerr's breadbasket. I think he had the right read, just needed to fully commit to following him with full rotation, because it almost went off Kerr's elbow instead of going right into that chest area.
Bryce Merrill choosing to keep his O-line on the field. That was a very short point. Kind of a gift break for the first of the game for the Spiders. Just 24 seconds off the clock. Toby Warren rips the towering backhand pull. It will land, though, shy of the end zone. Jacob Miller picks it up and quickly looks for Brown downfield. Some pressure there. Footsteps from Warren.
Stack's a little deep here from Salt Lake. Handler's a little stranded.
Here's Simon Dastrup. Floated a little bit, and it's intercepted by Robin Vickers-Batzdorf. You can see that turnover coming. A chance for the Spiders to make it a 3-0 run, and it's all happened in less than 90 seconds of game time. They scored with 4 seconds left in the first, and now 2 goals in the first 74 seconds of the second.
So Dastrup just floating that one. I think he can almost just step out and throw either a flat or anything but a high release backhand in that instance. I think throwing the high release just exposes you to a lot of risk when you can commit to the deeper lunge and the lower release point. And I think that point is also pretty emblematic of how suffocating this Oakland defense can be from 1-7 on the line, 1-20 on the roster. You saw Toby Warren inches away from a layout block. You saw Vickers-Batzdorf getting the block. Great to see him healthy after the hip difficulty earlier in the season. And you just have this army of talented defenders they could throw out there.
Point punctuated by Tony Goss in the end zone. He's got good memories playing here at Zions Bank Stadium as a member of the Cascades. Remember, it was Tony's birthday when Seattle stunned Salt Lake in the West Final a couple of years ago.
Probably still a little scar tissue in this Shred institution from that 2024 experience.
Especially because they were hosting championship weekend. Another block. It's a Evan Magsig cancellation of Jared Scheinberg's throw. It's like the Spiders flipped the switch here at the start of the second quarter defensively. It was 5-5. The teams were trading back and forth. Salt Lake overcame a few Chad Jorgensen mistakes. But this is more like it for the Spiders and the team that they've been all year long. It's going to be an offensive foul called against James Whelan, creating a little contact with Alex Forsberg.
Before the reset to Valley. Okay.
Yep. James Whelan's had a heck of a season. At least 1 block in 5 of the 7 games he's played. Had 4 blocks in his UFA debut. Timeout, Spiders. Liam Kreis will get the offense on the field. 8-5, Oakland leads early in the second.
What makes an East Division championship? just got to be a resilient team and be able to like take a hit and just keep swinging.
And there are no more perfect teams in the 2026 association.
We try to go game by game, point by point.
Tobin Akrana brings it in for the Boston score.
All the teams that you play against in those championship games are really good teams. You can lose them, you can win them, and it's just about are you good at the right moment.
Incredible! It's going to be incredible, Ian Toner. If we get Boston, New York for the East Final, Toba versus Don, one of them goes to championship weekend, the other goes home.
They've had unbelievable seasons. Toba looking every bit the MVP in that victory against Minnesota last weekend.
9 assists for the Glory in their road win at the Wind Chill. Morgan Sommer back to Leo Gordon. Here's Raekwon Atkins. And that's just really pretty offense from the Spiders.
Well, you could call it pretty. I think Salt Lake did a really nice job forcing that hammer to Sommer, and that's a real pressure point and an opportunity where the Shred could have gotten a block. But to your point, yes, as soon as they got through that difficult sequence, it was just throwing and going, moving and grooving in the red zone.
This Oakland team 9-1, their only loss back on Friday Night Frisbee in June against the Minnesota Wind Chill, who got the 1-goal win on the road. And Boston beats Minnesota by 1 on the road. There are a bunch of elite contenders, and I said this to you on the car on the way here tonight, Ian. This is an Oakland team that regardless of what the result is in this game, I'm looking to watch them and see how their level that my eyes are looking at compares to what we saw last week with Minnesota and Boston, teams that they very well could see in Madison next month.
I'm with you, and it almost feels like that first quarter was kind of like a feeling out, getting our legs under us at elevation, and
whistle stops Salt Lake Surge. It's a pick against the Shred, so they'll have to reset and rediscover their rhythm here.
And the second quarter, and as you articulated, has been, I don't know if there was a switch flipped or something, but this second quarter performance has been much closer to the level of a championship weekend contender.
Chad Jorgensen in the end zone. And the Shred get their first goal in the second.
Nice touch by the Shred to use the same goal-scoring song there that Les Bleus, the French side, used in the World Cup. Not sure if there's any overlap. Perhaps Jean Leroux had something to do with that one.
Ian, do you have a pick in the World Cup final for us?
Oh.
Spain, Argentina, Sunday afternoon?
Yes, the astute international football follower that I am. I feel like it's Spain's game, but everyone's counted Messi and company out at their peril so far at different sequences in this tournament. What about you?
I think it's going to be Messi's storybook ending. But we shall see. You know far more than I do about most topics.
Yeah, it's debatable.
Leo Gordon looking for Riddaller, and he tried to be a little too cute with it, although Riddaller raises his hand and kind of claims responsibility for his read.
Yeah, I also think that was a little ambitious from Leo. He did have an easier swing right in front of him.
Timeout, Salt Lake.
And he consciously kind of threw over that rather than waiting for that to clear and open something up. And As we dial back into this sequence, it's clear Bryce Merrill using the timeout flag as quickly as possible tonight. It's a departure from how we've seen him operate previously, and I wonder if this is, hey, playoffs are around the corner. We got to tighten the screws and dial in some of this execution.
I want y'all get that ball high and deep when we go. The goal is field switcher. The bag and scram here. We might have to scroll around to take time to get over there. But when we get there, we get hot. Give me a party, too. Thank you. Give me a party. Right now, boys.
That being said, he is not putting his offense 1 unit out on the field. This is Forsberg. This is Luke Jorgensen.
I mean, this is the D-line.
Yeah, Gene LaRue.
LaRue, Scheinberg, Pugh, Stenseth, and the deep shot goes to nobody. Was that the play call, Ian?
I heard Luke Jorgensen say something about a party, but I don't think that's the kind of party he was looking for.
Yikes. I mean, my thought was Bryce is probably contemplating how many break chances are we going to get against the Spiders offense. Plus the stall count was rising in the situation, but to not complete a single pass out of the timeout is not what the Shred were looking for. Valley sending it up the line. Aaron Rosenthal makes the sliding snag for the score. And has something to say about it. All in good spirit with Jaron Scheinberg. 10-6 Spiders.
Well, there's a look at the overthrow, and clearly Luke not on the same page with whoever the intended receiver was. And how about the wheels here from Rosenthal? And the discipline from the rest of the Spiders stack to not have anyone else crowding that deep space, keeping any help defenders out of harm's way.
Nice throw by Valley.
100%.
So Salt Lake's timeouts have not been productive so far tonight, Ian.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like those are completely defensible decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
To call the timeout there.
Poor execution out of the timeout.
Yeah, the execution is just completely off the mark.
Shred O-line back out there. Orm marking Chad. Up the line. And the deep shot looking for Oscar Brown. And the youngster rises up for the score. 21-year-old Oscar Brown from the 19-year-old Carson Armstrong.
I mean, what a rip here from Armstrong. I know we were excited to see him on this offense coming over from the Austin Soul. And, I mean, this is a same third, same quarter, same fifth shot. And that had to be on the money because the Spiders defender was closing in and Brown getting there at the right moment.
Oscar Brown, a U20 world champ 2 years ago with Team USA.
And I think that does a lot for this Salt Lake offense, you know, continuing to establish, hey, you have to take us seriously when we're stretching the field with our deep cuts. We can't just allow defenders to sit underneath us because we will make you pay and we can hit those.
Mishandled pull receive by Leo Gordon. And now the Spiders don't get it out of the end zone before the cavalry arrives. Goodaller's been mistake-free so far as a thrower. Atkins to Sommer in the middle. And he'll shoot it deep, looking for Frankenberg, who's open. Walker with some work to do, just shy of the goal line, finds Clyburn for the score.
Yeah, that was a tough deep point there for the Shred. The throw went up, and I don't think Saunders even knew. He had kind of turned off the boosters. And Frankenberg was still chasing it down. Easy money on the finish there for Dexter Clyburn.
Since Walker Frankenberg joined the UFA in 2023, he has the third most total yards of anybody. He's number 6 in total scores. Only Austin Taylor and Kyle Henke have more yards than Walker does. Only guys with more scores entering tonight: Garrett Martin, Jordan Kerr, Travis Dunn, Austin Taylor, and Toba DeCrana, who entered the league in 2024, but that's how busy Toba's been. Sun beating down on the turf here at Zions Bank Stadium, about 10 minutes shy of 8 p.m. locally.
Kind of crazy that we have clear enough skies considering the chaos that we had in what should have otherwise been the warm-up period.
Yeah, teams warmed up in the field house indoors behind us. There was actually some conversation earlier today as the Travels called on the field. McKay backs up 10. There was some conversation that this game potentially could be moved inside if the lightning was too paramount and present. But so far so good. We are 4.5 minutes away from halftime, and Oakland is seemingly off to the races again.
Yeah, crazy couple sequences there. Between 5:45, 6:15 local, we had a dust storm roll through, and then an actual thunderstorm. It was,
and there was a little rainbow in the distance. I don't know if you saw.
It was wild.
Now, Salt Lake has been a different team here in the second quarter. Oakland seizing control. Dylan Burns hammer for Robinson. And one more to the end zone for Dylan Villeneuve. Hammers all day. That's the Spider way. 12-7 Oakland.
Did you run that by them before this one?
No.
Okay.
Just decreed it on the spot.
Well, wonderful execution there between Burns, Robinson, and Villeneuve. And great to see Villeneuve finding his footing here. I know he was dealing with a lower body injury for a good chunk of the first part of the season. Made his debut against Colorado on that road trip a few weeks ago. And I mean, we know what this guy can do. We've seen him show out going back to his college days with Brownie in motion, and
champion in 2019. Leo Gordon, a champion with Brown a few years later.
I mean, Leo's celebration after that foot block at Breeze Stevens Field in the championship game, that's one of the more electrifying things that I've seen on the college field.
I still have PTSD from the weather from that weekend.
Yeah.
You're talking about the weather here.
Yeah.
That was the wildest weather weekend for a tournament in my Ultimate Frisbee lifetime. And yet, on schedule on Memorial Day Monday at Breeze Stevens Field for Leo Gordon, Jock Nissen and company to beat many of these guys that were on Cal Poly slow in the final. The great Tom Stiles, who's broadcasting the Junior World Championships in Spain, sent me a picture earlier this morning in the lounge where the players were hanging out in Spain at Junior Worlds. There were some folks watching the North Carolina Cal Poly Slow semifinal.
Oh.
And he said he heard my voice in that little lounge space. It was cool to hear from Tom and wish him and everybody with the Ulti World production crew the best as they cover 3 gold medal games tomorrow. France and Canada in the women, and then USA versus Canada in the mixed and the men. We got a call, and it's going against the Shred.
Is that a push-off offensive foul?
Is 12-7 with 2.5 minutes and change to go in this first half kind of what you were expecting tonight, Ian, or has this first half surprised you?
Ooh, that's a great question. I thought Salt Lake would have learned from its previous matchups against Oakland and might have been a little more disciplined, and we would have been a little closer.
Flagrant foul here signaled by the trail referee, Monforti. And the bump
from
Toby Warren.
Yeah.
There was some physicality a few weeks back when these teams played. That's why Jace Dunabile was suspended for tonight. I think the officials coming in with a mindset of nipping any overly physical activity in the bud quickly. It's been a pretty clean game overall.
I was going to say we haven't seen anything boiling over, anything near the level that we saw when these two teams matched up at the end of June.
And just going back to that game at the end of June, Ian, it was 17-8.
Yes.
Oakland with like 4.5 minutes to go in the third. It was a rout and a half, and then the Shred outscored the Spiders 11-3 over the final 16 minutes. And of course, they had the disc with a chance to tie it at the end, and they came up empty, and Oakland escaped. Spiders still undefeated against West Division opponents this season. Hopefully everybody pops up after that collision. They do. Chad Jorgensen in the end zone with a smile on his face. Back to a 4-goal game.
Yeah, so Oakland has completed a couple firsts, beating Colorado in Colorado and Salt Lake in Salt Lake. And we get one more look at that grab there from Chad Jorgensen, who's trying to atone for the early turnover challenges. It's crazy, you know. I think Bryce Merrill is very aware of how his team can just fluctuate quarter to quarter. They can go on an 11-2, 11-3 run, and they can also be a team that just kind of gets pummeled out of the gate and give up 4 in a row. And the challenge for him and any other coaching staff in the league is, how do we find that level of consistency and stem the tide of opposing pressure runs that Oakland manufactured at the beginning of this second quarter?
Boyd Flegel unleashes a booming backhand for Walker Frankenberg. He beats Reed Browning. Simple stuff for the Spiders.
Okay, so I understand we've been waxing poetic about how there's so many different ways this Spiders offense can beat you, how many different talented pieces it has, but that's just like one too many times I've seen Frankenberg with steps deep. It's one thing if he's going to win 50-50 after 50-50, but that's a handful of times now where he's just kind of been unchallenged deep huck reception, and I don't know if it's the defensive schematics, I don't know if it's the matchup not respecting enough, but that's just a little too easy for a guy like Walker.
All season long, Oakland has done a good job picking its spots in the huck game. They lead the league in huck completion percentage above